Hi, I'm Ben from Universal Audio, and today I'm going to be showing you a few tricks for using the Empirical Labs Distressor plugin. Now, the Distressor is famous for its analog sound, but with a very modern control set that gives you tons of flexibility over attack and release times, ratio controls, sidechain filtering, harmonic saturation. It's a lot to deal with. So let me show you a few tricks to quickly find sounds that you love with the Distressor. So for this first example, I'm going to pull up the Distressor on my drum group. Let's hear what the factory default setting sounds like. Now, this is a good default setting, but as you can see, I'm taking off way too much, and it's starting to make the drums sound just flat and pumpy and weird. It's not really what I'm looking for. Now, I could just turn the input down, and of course I'd get less gain reduction, but a better place to start is with the attack and release controls. So I'm going to tweak the attack and release times. I want you to listen as I increase the attack time. All of a sudden the transients start coming through, the gain reduction meter stops working so hard, and the drums just start to open up. Same for the release time. As I start to make a shorter release time, all of a sudden you're going to hear more life to the drums and, again, a less compressed sound. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So you can hear with the attack opened up, with the release shortened, all of a sudden I've got life back in my drums. Now you may notice, whenever the kick drum hits, it's compressing more than when the snare drum or anything else is going on in the drum kit. Well, that makes sense because the kick drum has all this low frequency energy, which just inherently has more level. Now the nice thing about the Distressor plugin is that there's a high pass filter in the detector circuit. So what this means is that the compressor is going to ignore a lot of those really low frequencies coming from the kick drum and not compress as much based on those. Let me show you what I'm talking about. It doesn't sound as smashed or crushed or overcompressed. It just sounds more like a natural drum set. I can take this one more step further and add a little bit of harmonic saturation. Now, on the audio side, you have a high-pass filter, which would actually filter out those lows and what we hear. We don't want that in this case. It has disc 2, which is even harmonics that are just warm and very subtle. And it has disc 3, which are odd harmonics, a little bit more like a tape machine, a little sharper, a little bit more apparent. So I'm going to go through all three of these modes so you can hear what they sound like, and we'll see which one sounds best. Pretty extreme differences, right? Now, a big advantage to the plugin over the hardware units, instead of just having to click the buttons on the interface, I can directly click on each label to immediately go between disc 2 and disc 3. A subtle advantage for the plugin over the hardware, but it sounds just as good as the original. All right, let's move on and check out the Distressor on acoustic guitars. So here I've got an acoustic guitar part recorded in stereo. Let's hear what it sounds like with no compression or anything on it. Sounds like an acoustic guitar. Now let's insert the Distressor plugin and see what it does. Similar issue to what we heard on the drums, right? It just sounds compressed. It sounds a little stressed, a little choked, and that doesn't really feel like the right vibe for this part. So again, I'm going to start in the same place. I'm going to start tweaking the attack and release knobs until I find a more transparent, a little bit more open sound to it. So once again, a longer attack time, shorter release time, and I also adjusted the ratio down a little bit so it doesn't respond as severely when it gets over the threshold, and gave it a little bit more input. So that way I'm getting the amount of gain reduction I'm looking for to hold this guitar in one place, but without it sounding squashed and clamped down. This is the perfect place to be using the high-pass filter in the audio circuit to just clean up a little bit of that low end, and maybe add a little bit of disc 2, which is the even harmonics, just to give it a subtle saturation. Let's hear what that sounds like. So now let's listen to this acoustic guitar with the drums. I'm going to turn the distressor on and off so you can hear the difference this is making in the mix. So as you can hear, when I turn off the distressor, the acoustic guitar just disappears into the background. And then when I turn it back on, it comes forward in the mix and stays in one spot in a nice way without sounding over-compressed. It's exactly what I was looking for, and that's what makes this compressor such a flexible tool in your toolkit. Now let me show you how I would set up the distressor on a vocal track. So now my favorite place to start when it comes to vocals and the distressor is the opto setting. So for opto, you go 10-to-1, you open the attack all the way up, you bring the release all the way down, hit play, and then usually walk away happy. Let's see if that's the case.
Clock ticks, time keeps on slowing down, daydreaming about you. Why aren't you here right now? Can't shake you.
Now that is super smooth compression. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. In the verses, it's barely touching it, and then when it gets to the chorus, it clamps it down, keeps it from popping too far out of the mix. It's a great setting to start for on the vocals. But where's the fun in that? This thing's got a nuke mode. Why are we using that? Well, let's try and go for the exact opposite. Let's go for a super extreme compression setting, and then see if that maybe works better. Let's check it out.
Clock ticks, time keeps on slowing down, daydreaming about you. Why aren't you here right now? Can't shake you. I can't shake you. I can't shake you.
Now that's extreme settings. Every breath is getting brought up. It's kind of a nasty sound. In an aggressive rock mix, that might be perfect. And even if it's not, if you like that tone, if you like all that grit and that pump and everything that's going on there, the great thing about the plug-in version of the distressor is you have a mix knob, and you can blend between the dry signal and the compressed signal, so you can tweak just the right amount of it. Once again, this compressor is a tweaker's dream. Every setting that you'd ever want on a compressor, this plugin has it. So that's a couple of examples of how I like to use the Empirical Labs distressor plugin. Now, as you heard, this compressor goes all the way from very transparent, very musical sounding compression to complete and utter annihilation, destruction, and everything in between with the added benefit of a wet dry knob. So if you want to learn more about this plugin, go to uaudio.com, and if you already own a Universal Audio interface or UAD-2 hardware, you can actually demo this plugin right now for 14 days for free, and I highly suggest that you check it out. See you next time.